date.
Wow.
Yeah. She actually drove up from a couple hours away to meet me, and we initially met for
Well,
lunch,
tell them.
and we were having a good time. And so after lunch, we went out for a walk in this beautiful park. It was a meditation garden, and then we were there for a couple hours, and we were hungry, so we went and got dinner. And we were too late at dinner, and she missed her train, so she couldn't go home. So she ended up staying at my place, and she went back the next morning. And next thing I knew, we were in a relationship because we had a 24-hour first date.
Yeah, that was fast.
Yeah.
And that you should. Oh, you know what? Actually, ... and we'll say more later.
You got it.
Because I know the story.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, we're talking about the biggest dating mistake. So if you're somebody who is dating, guess what? Chances are you're making this one.
Yeah.
It's the mistake most people make, and it's really the number one thing that makes us a little bonky, because when we tell people, no, don't rush in. Look, I just gave it away.
Yeah, don't rush in.
Don't rush in, because the first thing that happens is the minute you get all the feelings, you're like, whoop, and you stop talking to everybody. You don't, date anybody else, and you go exclusive the second you have all the feels, even if that's within the first few minutes of meeting somebody. You dive right in. So the solution, we're going to talk a lot more about the problem, but the biggest dating mistake is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And what I want to let you know is this mistake happens no matter people's age,
Yeah.
no matter where they live, no matter their religion, their culture, their background, their gender preference, their gender identity, their sexual preference. That's what I meant to say. Their sexual preference. No matter who you are, it just seems that everybody rushes right in. And there's only one solution to this problem. We're going to talk a lot more about the benefits of the solution and a lot more about the problem. But we're going to give you the answer in a really easy 2 words you can never forget.
Yeah.
You going to say with me?
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Slow
love. Slow love, people.
Slow love.
And you know what? You can be mad and say you've heard this before, and you can tune out and click off or scroll along or whatever it is that you want to do. But the truth is, if you're stuck with the same frustrating situation, but the face is different, you're like, how am I here again? How am I here again? How am I here again? And if you're wondering why you keep attracting the same kind of X, Y, whatever person, and I don't mean that by gender, I mean it by fill in the blank like algebra, then this is your problem, because the moment you start rushing in, you've literally thrown your discernment out the window.
Yeah, and the thing is, people rush from the very beginning. They're looking through profiles, and they find one they like, and they go, oh, I'm going to stop looking at other profiles. I'm going to get a date with this person, right? It's like the rushing happens from the very beginning, because for some reason you don't want to be dating. I get it. A lot of people don't like dating. You have these awkward, weird dates with people. People don't look like their profile pictures. People show up and they just talk about themselves the whole time. Things happen on dates that aren't exactly pleasant. But that's not most of your dates. Most of your dates are just like, hey, this is a nice person.
A decent person.
A decent person.
I'm just waiting to get to know you.
But, maybe not. You're my person, right?
And the reality is you don't know that person. So the minute you jump in with your feelings, you're leaving your biggest asset to dating. Like you're literally sidelining your best asset. And, we've reached out to Video a number of times about the tech issue that we had last time with the sound. And if we're having bad sound today, we're just going to have to cancel this, and we're going to do it next week.
Yeah, sorry, everyone.
I just don't think we can. It's a lot. It's too much here. I don't know what else to do. I think we're going to have to. We're having technical problems with the sound. I think we're going to pick this up next week, although we just gave them the answer. They're going to tune in again for the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Try the solution we did before and see if it gets better. And then, whoa. Okay, is that better? Somebody let us know.
Somebody let us know if it's any better.
Okay, we're going to intro us, and we'll come back. And so we want to know if you can hear us better. This sound issue is not on our end, so we haven't changed a thing.
It's an issue with the streaming service we're using, so
I don't know we don't know how to fix it. We've reached out to them literally dozens of times between the last one and this one. So if somebody can let us know if it's better. It's better.
Sound is better. Thanks, Tina.
Okay, thank you. So we'll try to keep going, but if it just keeps getting weird again, I think we're going to have to cancel this one. It's just, I don't know. We're going to have to switch services, which we'd rather not do.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters.
And this is Love Intervention. And I'm sorry if our sound is wonky today. I'm just going to say right away that we will definitely be back on Valentine's Day. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, February 14th. I want to make sure we're letting everybody know we'll be live on Valentine's Day. We're going to have a lot of fun.
We're going to be live on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So here's the deal. We're talking about the biggest dating mistake. And the biggest dating mistake everybody makes is they rush in. You rush the dating process. So the dating process is supposed to be a selection process. And the deal is that if you're utilizing a feeling as your only navigational tool to select or deselect somebody, you can be in trouble. And I don't mean like danger, like physical danger. I just mean you're not going to get to your goal, because the goal is to have a beloved relationship. And so a beloved relationship may not feel or show up the way your familiar signals are expecting it to.
We're going to get more into that. But first, I want to share another story. We had this client, really amazing woman, who found herself stuck in this pattern of 3 months, 6 months. I think she said her longest relationship was 8 months. And what would happen when she was dating was she would, as soon as she met a guy,
jump right in.
And there was something in common and he seemed interested, she'd jump right into a relationship.
As soon as he wanted to go exclusive, she'd, okay.
Yeah, but there had to be like one thing that they had in common. If he
checked some of the boxes.
It was a tiny criteria, but it was enough of a criteria, right?
There was criteria there.
And so she would just jump in, and she kept having these short-term relationships until eventually she came back to us and said, guys, okay, I'm finally going to date the way you want me to. And
she said, tell me again what you want me to do.
Tell me again.
And we're going to say it together again. You know what we said? We said, slow love. Slow down.
So we gave her the steps to slow love.
Yes.
And then she meets this guy. And she tells him, look, I'm not going exclusive yet. And he's like, well, that's weird, but okay, I like you anyway. And so she kept dating other people while she was dating him.
Yep.
Well, now they're married.
Yeah.
He stuck around. He did not run away. See, what's weird is she told him she wouldn't go exclusive with him yet, and he didn't run away.
No, he was like, oh, that's kind of weird, but you're cool. So, all right, I'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can date other people. She's like, please do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I know we had it in our love note, like I think last week. It
might have been yesterday.
No.
Slow love?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
Like, if you let me finish, I can say it.
Go ahead and finish.
Okay. So I think it was in our love note, not this week, but last week, which is you can't rush something that you want to last forever. Can't rush something that you hope will last forever, that you want to last. You can't rush that. You know, I don't know if you're one of those people that when you start reading a book, you read the end of the book. Oh, and by the way, I have an injured thumb, so anybody who's wondering why I have this weird thing on my hand, we're going to ignore it. But I don't want to hurt my hand more, and since I talk with my hands, I'm going to leave my brace on. Okay. You can't rush something you want to have last forever. So we were talking with a client a couple weeks ago, and I was telling her about what felt like a very long engagement. We had a 1.5 year long engagement.
We did.
And just the nature of how it happened, because we wanted to get married at our spiritual center, and they only do them on Saturdays, only certain Saturdays of the year, blah, blah, blah. And so I was explaining this to a client. We were talking about this idea of slow love and not rushing in, and you can't rush something that you want to last forever, all the stuff we're talking about tonight. And she said to me, oh my gosh, Orna, I don't think I could be engaged for 1.5 years. I'd be afraid something would happen and then we wouldn't get married. I'm like, what?
If you're afraid something's going to happen that's going to stop you from getting married, maybe you shouldn't be getting married. Because that same thing will happen after you're married, and then you'll just have to get divorced.
Yep. And so what we want to say is this idea of rushing and futurizing and thinking that you want to be with somebody and it has to happen right now, it's what is it? It's kind of like dating like a teenager.
It's definitely dating like a teenager.
And do you remember that?
Oh my God, she's so cute. Oh my God, okay, we're going steady now. And you wearing my jacket?
Oh, he pinned me. I mean, I think one of our very first love notes ever was "Stop dating like a teenager." We
Yeah.
circled all the way back over 13 years ago to say, "Stop dating like a teenager." You can't rush something you want to have last forever. You just can't rush that thing.
All right.
So let's talk about why these signals can be off.
I got another story first.
Oh.
So we were invited by this couple who has a podcast, and they talk about love. And we're like, sure, two couples talking together. And we get on the podcast, and they did this weird thing where they kind of ambushed us because they had these other couple on the podcast with us. And this other couple were friends of theirs.
6 people.
6 people on this podcast. But this other couple were friends of theirs who had met and gotten married in like 2 months. And they were already fighting, but they were soulmates. They were convinced they were soulmates, but they were fighting.
All the time.
All the time.
It was a very confusing incident for us. We honestly didn't talk. We were just supposed to be the guests on the podcast. I don't know why you specifically brought
Well, I brought that up because of the mistakes of fast love, the mistakes of, oh my God, see, these people were in their 60s. They weren't children. They were in their 60s, and you're like, oh my God, we're soulmates, and they rushed in to get married in like 2 months.
Yeah.
All right, I guess the wonkiness is back on the sound, so I don't think we can. What are we
I
going
know,
to
but
do?
we're not going to do this subject again.
All right, so am I just going to do this
I
every
think we're
time?
just going to have to relax. Fix that you figured out.
Hopefully,
Thank goodness you know. I know. Well, it's not background noise. It's just noise inside the Vimeo system. I'm going to keep blaming Vimeo. Maybe they're
tell us if it's gotten better yet.
Yeah. No, we're going to keep going. I'm going to assume that fixed it.
No, I not until I hear somebody tells me it's fixed.
All right.
Our team is
typing.
It's fixed. Thanks, Tina.
Yeah, this isn't background noise. This actually is noise that's not here.
From Vimeo. It's from their streaming system.
I don't know.
We thought they'd fixed it, but they haven't fixed it.
Yeah, we asked them like a half a dozen times, like what. There's no background noise here. You could hear a pin drop. If we're quiet. Okay. So here's the problem with fast love. Is kind of like the problem with fast food. Like you're like, ooh, I'm hungry. I can just pull into Mickey D's, right? And then suddenly you eat that stuff and you're like, I don't feel so good. You know, it's like in order to have something that's slow and to something you want to savor and something that's going to last, you got to think of slow love like the way you make a soup or a stew. You can't rush that stuff. Mm-hmm. You can't throw a bunch of stuff in a pot and just expect it to be ready, boom, and have a lot of flavors. You got to build flavor when you're cooking a soup or a stew. And we want you to think of slow love that way. That as you let something simmer, like remember, you don't want the pot to boil over, right?
Right.
That wouldn't be good.
No.
And you want to leave it on that slow simmer. And so when there's a lot of chemistry and attraction and you're two consenting adults, it's all too easy to jump in and go straight to the sex and the exclusivity and get the deed done and think, oh, we're settled in, we're in a relationship. But when you rush in that way, it's like a part of your brain is not really assessing that person in the way that we think is more what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not thoughtful, but mindful.
Yes.
Like mindfulness dating, right?
Yeah,
it's like going slow is like being mindful. So one of the things that people tell us all the time is, it's not working. I can't find somebody to date. I don't find anyone to date. I don't find anyone to date. And when they do find somebody to date, they think it's so rare. Like that person's like a unicorn that they have to harvest it and hold on to that problem. Like I'm such a gardener. Right. I'm saying, but hold on to them, right? Like cling to them. Like, oh my God, I got so excited about this person that I've got to hold on to them because because I have that feeling, and you're afraid the feeling isn't going to last. But the truth is, look, right now, if you're worried about a feeling lasting or not lasting, they're all going to change. I mean, I love this human. I love this particular human with all my heart and with every fiber of my being. I promise you, I've been angry at him. And even the times when I felt blissful with him, neither of those feelings last. Being angry at him doesn't last, and feeling blissful with him doesn't last. So a feeling is not you want to pay attention to your sensory experience in a different kind of way so that you evaluate yourself through the dating process so that then you can turn around and evaluate the people that you're dating. And it should always be people. You should always have a dating rotation. So a long time ago, we did a video with my friend Moon, and we called it ABT, always be dating, and
Yeah.
ABD.
ABD. See, the
Always
thing
be
about
dating.
one of the reasons why people struggle to find a date, and this is going to almost sound contradictory, right, when we talk about being discerning on who you choose to get into a relationship with, but one of the reasons why people have trouble finding dates is because they're too discerning about who they'll go on a date with. See, you need to shift it up. You need to be open to dating a lot of different kinds of people.
Yep.
You need to be, you need to open up your space for meeting people on that first date, right? That first meeting. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And one is you get to learn more about yourself and how you're showing up. So as you're opening up to more people dating, you can then be more discerning with the people you're going on dates with, so that you're not getting into a relationship with somebody you don't really know yet because you've got all these feelings for them.
Yeah, rushing into the sex and the exclusivity immediately sets you off course in the sense that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And we're not asking you to date like it's 1952 or something like that.
Nope.
I mean, we completely believe like this has nothing to do with whether you want to have sex or not. Like if you're not looking for a relationship, if you're not looking for love and you just want to have sex, that's all the thing you want. As a matter of fact, you can unsubscribe and not show up to any of these love interventions. If you want love, right, like lasting love with an ideal partner who gets you and loves you and stands by you and brews with you, and when things go south and you have a fight or a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, you work it out together, right? If you're looking for that, guess what? You got to go slow. So we're not asking you to roll the clock back to like 1952, where you're just waiting to have sex until you get married. None of that stuff. But what we're saying is you can't date discerningly, because once you've had the sex, the whole relationship it has a different dynamic on that automatically, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once you squeeze the tube out. So once you squeeze that toothpaste out.
Right.
So it doesn't, like sex and exclusivity for us go together because mostly people, particularly women, bond emotionally when they have sex. And so sex and exclusivity go together. And slow love is a way to let it simmer. So when it's hot and there's a lot of chemistry and you put off the physical interaction and you tell somebody not yet, you don't say no, you just say not yet. You can let all of that stuff in the pot simmer, and it's really hot, it's sexy, and it's all about communication. And I think, the number one question we get about how do I do this or how do I do that? We had somebody asking us the other day, what was it? How do I do that? How do I tell somebody that I have a crazy work schedule, right? Like somebody who works in the ER, for example, right? How do I tell them, my schedule's crazy? And I'm like, you say, gosh, I work in the ER. It's like really hectic. So I'd rather see you not after work. I'd rather want to see you on my day off because I'll be in a much better mood. It just takes a lot of energy for me to be at work all day. That has nothing to do with that other person. Right. And if that person's like, oh, somebody asks you out on a Thursday, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available till Sunday, and they're like, oh, never mind. What?
That's somebody who's not really interested in you.
Yeah, that's not interested in you.
They're just looking for a date for Thursday.
Yeah. Like, is there
fill in the blank.
Is there +1 to whatever they were going to do Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
So the thing is, when it gets to those intense attractions, like the 24-hour first dates, or the couple that gets married after 2 months because they're soulmates, they know it, they're just so in sync until they fight all the time. The thing about those relationships, there's a reason why that charge is so intense.
Well, what I would love for you to do, and if you don't mind me interrupting, we told the 24-hour first date story, and I want you to say what happened the next time you got on the phone with her.
Well, the next time I got on the phone with her.
Because when she left, the bad sound back. I knew that was coming. We are gonna change the system we use. We're gonna figure this out. It says you're muted now.
Unmuted. It just I muted and unmuted. That's part of the.
That's part of the weird
fix,
hacky fix.
The weird hacky fix. All right. So after the 24-hour first date, and we were that was it. I mean, we were in. We got on the phone the next day, and she said, I had a really great time, and it was really fun, but I don't think we're a good match.
What?
Yeah, and now she tried to end the relationship, and I was like, no, really, why don't we give it another shot? So she gave it another shot, and then we were back in a relationship, and we broke up probably like 3 times over the next month and a half. It was intense, right? So that's the thing we're talking about here. Those kind of relationships where it's like really intense, and you think, oh my God, we're soulmates, but why can't we get along? Right? Oh my God, we're soulmates, and then 4 months in, he's like, I can't do this, and disappears. Right?
So here's the deal. You don't know if that person is your soulmate after a date or 3 or a month or 3 months. You really don't know that yet. And I know that that's kind of a bummer for people because, this whole idea of risking your heart, notice that the word risk is in that sentence. You don't know. You don't know the end of the story until you get down the pathway of sharing your life with somebody. And when you have to understand that ebb and flow of coming together with another person, because that first stage of relationship that we all know is the romance stage. That romance stage of relationship is super intoxicating. I mean, actual scientists say your brain literally floods your body with all kinds of chemicals. Supposedly it's like being, high on whatever, I don't know, heroin or I don't know. I have no idea what it would. I have no idea what it would be like to be high on heroin, but I know what it feels like to fall in love. And the idea that you think you can make that discerning decision about whether this is your person or not when you're high as a kite is an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
And so after the romance stage, there's a hangover, and that's known as the power struggle stage. And we're going to give you the bad news. No couple skips that power struggle stage. No couple skips the power struggle. And so you have to have enough gas in your tank to get through that romance stage in order to then get through that second stage. And the third stage of relationship is the stability stage, where you stop fighting each other and you start fighting for the relationship.
Yeah.
So there's 5 stages of relationship, and we want to just let you know that most people lather, rinse, repeat those first 2. Either romance, power struggle, breakup, new person, 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 romance, power struggle, or romance, power struggle, breakup, get back together, romance, power struggle, breakup, get back together, romance, power struggle, breakup, get back together. And the thing is most couples don't actually settle into that stability stage. They just sort of meet in this mediocre middle of the negotiation, right? Of this idea that, I'll give up something and you give up something. So Tina says, can you please repeat that? No couple skips the power struggle. No couple skips the power struggle. Is the sound weird again?
I don't know.
So romance stage, power struggle stage. No couple skips that second stage of relationship. So slow love is your remedy to all of this. When you do slow love, instead of jumping in like you're jumping in the deep end of the pool, instead you're going to put a toe in the shallow end, then you put a foot in, and then another foot, and you're going to decide before you swim all the way over to the deep end, you're going to continue to date a lot of people and really evaluate how you feel with that person. And instead of mushing your lives together immediately, you're just going to let it simmer like a soup or a stew and let all that cook. So you want to pay attention not only how you feel when you're getting along, but you want to know what happens when things don't go well.
Right.
I mean, the first fight Matthew and I had was about fresh figs.
That's right.
So
before we tell the fresh pig fight,
don't touch that.
Sorry about that. Let's tell everybody I'm Matthew Walters.
Hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
And this is Love Intervention. We are here to intervene in your love life to get you off the path of struggle and heartbreak and on the path to long-lasting, soul-satisfying love.
Yes.
You can ask your questions in the chat. We will be taking questions.
We actually have a bunch already.
We have a bunch already.
So listen, no matter where you are, if you're out there on YouTube catching this, you can click the bell and subscribe. You can put in the comment section, put your questions there, and our team will port them over here. If you're on Facebook, same thing. Give us a like, a share, a heart, whatever, and put your questions, because this really is an AMA and ask us anything, ask me anything. Just go ahead and put your questions there on Facebook. Our team will put them over here. And if you're live with us in the Vimeo where we're having the sound problem, sorry about that. We're just trying to fix it. You can just pop your questions right into the chat. So Matthew's going to do a little fixie fix on the sound time. And I want to let everybody know we will be back live on Valentine's Day. And
with a different system.
Yeah, I think a different system. Or we're going to, I don't know, we need to figure this out.
And there went our video.
Yep. All right. We're going to take some questions. I don't know if we're going to go the full hour because it's just really, this is a lot of stress with the sound thing.
If Tam could tell us, it's wonderful now. Great.
Okay, it's Tina.
Well, Tam.
Oh, is it? No, Tam and Tina. But Tina.
Yeah, I know. But that hadn't been in there yet.
All right. We're all good.
Okay.
I should just let you read it because I don't have my glasses on. Because glasses are a new thing. Okay. Let's see if do we have any questions about what we've covered tonight? We'll cover some of these other sort of, before we really got into our stuff.
If anybody, actually,
Tina says, don't be stressed. I can't help but stress if you guys can't hear us. I don't why not stress about that.
I want to ask, Angela was on, and Angela said, I see someone on a dating app that I'm interested in. And then she didn't say anything else. And Angela, I'm curious why only one person on a dating app do you see that you're interested in? I think your criteria is maybe a little too...
Yeah, I mean, you cannot look for a match. Here's the deal. A dating app is a tool to get dates IRL. If you're not getting dates IRL, you're not using the tool correctly. If you don't know what IRL is, that would be in real life. So in real life dates. You are not looking for a match. You're looking for a date with a human.
Right.
That's all. So here's the deal. If you got a chainsaw. Oh, thanks, Angela.
So, Angela, tell us more about this person you're interested on your dating app.
I want to know why you. Well, I don't know that. I don't want to know more about the person.
Right.
I want to know more about Angela.
Right. Why you type that? Were you typing a question?
Yeah, was that a question? Because we never got a question from you, Angela. But Matthew caught it because he's like, "Why are you saying only one person?" Like. You are not looking for your soulmate in an online profile. Please don't. You will never find that person that way. I'm going to say it's so funny. I love when people say that we look cute together and all that funny stuff because it's not funny, but it's sweet. And I love when people say that.
Yes.
And this person, as in me, and that person, as in Matthew, we were in the same room at least once a month. For sure, we know for a fact. Once a month, we're at the same networking meeting because we met through a business networking group.
Yeah.
IRL in real life.
Same room for a year.
Once a month.
Before we ever even spoke to each other.
So that was a minimum of 12 times. And there were a few other times we were probably at other meetings that were the same for sure.
Yeah.
And there was that one when we both became officers.
There was the officer meeting.
Yeah. And so I think it's hilarious that Matthew and I were in the same room for over a year, but for sure, like a year, like maybe 14 months, 16 months, something. But when I joined and he joined, we were regularly going to this particular, it was the last Friday of the month. It was called the West Side Breakfast. And I know you were in that room. And I know I was in that room every month for that meeting. And I knew who you were.
Right.
And you knew who I was. But we didn't talk for like a year.
Yeah.
So we're really bad networkers. Hi, I'm Orna Walters. I'm a bad networker.
I'm going to interrupt this story because Angela's giving us more information about this guy. She says, I want to recommend him to Love on Purpose because he needs to slow down. He advertises that his wife will not need to work. I'm not sure what that means. I guess
he can provide.
He's looking for a housewife. That's great. If that's what you want, that's great.
Or a baby mama.
And the great thing, Angela, is because you're the woman in this situation, you get to set the pace. You don't have to go at his speed. You get to say, hey, slow things down. I'm not ready to go that fast. I want to get to know you before I commit to being the wife that doesn't have to work.
Or you might say, I really enjoy my work. Or you might say, that in the future, that sounds interesting to me, but just to date, I don't really need to know that about you yet.
Yeah. So you get to set the pace. This is what women don't get, is when a man comes on strong and he wants to text you every day and call you every night and see you every other night, it means he likes you, but you don't have to do it at his pace. You get to say, hey, I'm busy. I got a life. Slow down. Let's do Friday, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. The women, I want to tell y'all ladies, if he's talking about himself or if he's saying you don't have to work or he's got pictures in front of his boat or his sports car and all that stuff, he is literally showing off because he's trying to impress you. Mm-hmm. And I always find it so odd when women are turned off by a guy who's trying to impress them. Yeah. Like, why is that a turnoff? He may not know how to impress you, but that's a really easy redirect. Like, I'm a gal who likes cars. And so when a guy had a fancy car,
right,
I was like, oh. I mean, it wasn't like, ooh, now let's do it, baby, But it was like,
you're not going to sleep with him for his car?
I was not going to sleep with him for his car. But I would be, I'm like, ooh, let's take her for a drive, whatever. Like, I'm the weird gal. I mean, I know there are other people who like cars.
We got to do this again.
We have the sound issues. Just, Vimeo, this is the last time we'll be here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, Vimeo.
It was coming up on a year anyway. I didn't want to renew the license. No. Okay, so Angela says, I do enjoy my work, but I appreciated that he liked me first. Well, here's the deal, Angela. Instead, you can totally redirect this guy. He's trying to show off, so he probably thinks that you're cute, you're hot. He's interested in knowing more, and he wants to show off and impress you. So let's talk about the birds. I know it's kind of cliche to say the birds and the bees, but we're going to talk a little bit about the birds. And I don't know about the bees, but bees are good luck. So we might talk about them too. The birds, even here in the big bustling metropolis of Los Angeles, California, I love watching even just your basic pigeon. Because your basic pigeon, and you see them all the time, and it's going to be spring really soon in North America. But here we go. The male pigeon will puff up his feathers and he'll do a little dance. Don't you really want me? 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 Now you know I'm wearing my brace because I'm like, probably shouldn't be doing that with myself. So he's all puffed up and he's trying to show off because he's trying to say, I'm a big pigeon and I can take care of you, little pigeon lady. Right?
Yeah.
And the female pigeon it's so funny when you watch them. I promise you, this is really the mating dance for pigeons. The female pigeon is like, I don't even see you. She's like looking away from him. She's like, I don't even see you. I don't even see you. And then she looks over her shoulder like, is he still doing the dance? Are his feathers still poofy? Right? And so what I don't understand about women today, we were at a dinner party over the holidays and there was a woman going on and on about this guy she had this whole story with all these details about all this stuff that this guy was talking about himself and he was showing off and blah, blah, blah. And she was so put off by it. And somebody else at the table that actually knows what Matthew and I do for a living was like, we were sitting at different tables actually. And so they were like, Orna, so what do you think about this? And I said, they met on a dating app. They went on a date. He was trying to impress her and didn't know how. And literally this other woman across the table from me goes, oh my gosh, how did you sum that up so fast? I'm like, I see it all the time. So ladies, would you rather be on a date with a guy who's not interested in you at all or a guy who's constantly talking about himself who is interested in you? Mm-hmm. So I want you to think of always talking about himself and translate that in your brain to he's nervous and trying to impress me. He's nervous and trying to impress me.
All right. Tam has this point. She came up with something just about this point, and this is an interesting statement because she says the most cheapskate man I ever met started out by bragging that he has a custom house and a 5-car garage. I've learned to beware of braggers. Okay, so Tam, I get you had a bad experience with one man. Have you ever been, say, to a Chinese restaurant and had a bad meal? Do you then go, I guess I don't like Chinese food?
Or I'm never going to go out to a restaurant
again. I guess I'm never going out to a restaurant again.
Or a Chinese food restaurant again.
I mean, you don't want to make blanket statements like that because you end up ruling out people it's guilt by association, right? I remember Orna was telling me once about, a guy that she had dated before she met me, and there was something he did, and I can't remember if I did something similar, what prompted the story, and I was like, hey, don't judge me because that guy's a jerk, right?
I remember that.
That's not fair to me, right? Don't judge other men because this guy's a cheapskate and a bragger. You don't judge other men who are trying to impress you. So this is what we do, right? It's like we have one bad experience and we make a blanket statement about everybody, and so we rule out like a third of the population because one jerk showed up. And you've got to stop. You've really got to stop doing that because it's not helping you.
You have to evaluate every person as a singular person because what you're trying to do is mitigate the risk. And the only way and the best way to mitigate the risk, say it with me, slow love. The only way to mitigate the risk to your heart is slow love. If you jump in with somebody and you rush, you cannot rush something you expect to last forever. So earlier, I know some people went away and came back, and we have new people. So hi, I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters.
And this is Love Intervention, where we intervene in your love life in a good way so that we get you off the path of heartbreak and on the path to soul-satisfying, long-lasting love. And here's the deal. The biggest mistake people make in the dating process is they jump in the minute they have all the feels.
Right, or they're moving too fast. Either you're judging too quickly, or you're jumping in too quickly. You're doing everything too quickly because you think if I make a quick decision, I won't waste my time. Well, you're actually delaying the opportunity to actually be in a relationship because we can go into all that. But the quicker you go, the longer it'll take.
Yep.
The slower you go, the quicker you'll get there. I know it sounds like a crazy contradiction, but it's true when it comes to dating. So ask your questions in the chat. If you're on Facebook, you can type your questions in there. Our team will port them over. The same way on YouTube. Give us a like, a share. On YouTube, click the bell.
Yeah, and because we've been having a sound issue tonight, I'm sorry about that. I promise we'll get it fixed. We'll be back on Valentine's Day. I'm not going to answer a lot of these questions that we've kind of answered before. So, these are still out there on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. You can always listen to the replay. So I'm going to skip around a bit. So if we've answered a similar question, we might skip it tonight just because we took a little extra time dealing with this sound problem that I hope is not back. Okay, we kind of covered this one.
Yeah, Jacqueline's questions.
Jacqueline says, I think men talk about ourselves. We kind of covered that. Kat says, I ended the relationship after Thanksgiving. He didn't really show affection, and I was never sure how he felt about me. I miss him terribly, and I have this thinking feeling I made a mistake. Should I reach out and see if he wants to get back together? Do you want to take it?
No, it's a simple answer. Because what's going to be different? This is always the question when you think about, should I get back together? Is what's going to be different if it wasn't working? And just because you miss him doesn't mean it's going to be different. So the missing him is a whole other thing.
That's your stuff.
That's your stuff. And do we want to start talking about that yet, or?
Yeah, I think we do. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we all have an internal GPS for love. And it drives our behavior, it drives our attractions, it drives our belief systems, it drives our emotional reactions, it drives all of it. And when your coordinates are off on your internal GPS for love, you're going to end up in these situations where you're like what was the name there? Cat, right? Because you find yourself drawn to people who aren't a good fit for you.
So let's talk about that internal GPS for love. So we are raised in a family, whoever wasn't raised you, whether actual mom and dad, biological mom and dad, or not adopted, maybe you were adopted, or maybe your aunt raised you, or maybe your grandmother raised you, or maybe you had a single dad, or maybe you had a single mom. So whatever that dynamic is, and your siblings also may play a part in this whole dynamic. But you learn about everything in your family of origin. Just like you learn to walk, and you learn to talk, and you learn to do all of these things that we kind of just do on autopilot, including who you find attractive.
Right.
Is all based on what you learn about you in your family of origin. Now, saying that you learned it about you might be something that is kind of off. So let me explain that a bit. Because The real work we do with our clients is you look at their GPS for love, right? This thing that we call your love imprint. And your love imprint is made up of what you learned in your family of origin about your sound problem. Like a little, I don't know, bell to ring.
All right.
Okay. So you learn about love in your family of origin, and you basically, what we call your love imprint is formed in your family of origin. And that's made up of your limiting beliefs about love, your mental emotional patterns, and behavioral strategies for giving and receiving love. And you learn about that in your family.
Mhm.
Now, we know being a parent is the toughest job there is. So we're not like putting a spotlight to say, let's blame everybody's parents. What we are saying is if you haven't accidentally found your person by the time you're 30, you probably need a little bit of help to change this internal GPS setting, right? Because we're all born with this idea that everything we want out of life, everything
Mhm.
worth having, your health and your well-being, a job, a career, all of the things you're told to get educated and have a career and gain a skill set or do, with nutrition and your well-being, you know how to take care of yourself, that all of this sounds like it's that there's this thing that you need to do for yourself in order to get the things you want in life.
Yeah.
Except
love.
Yeah. Except love.
So the thing is, when you're doing fast love, you are more likely to get caught up in a love imprint trap, meaning you're more likely to be attracted to somebody who is reflecting your wound around love. So let's go back to family of origin, right? So when you're born,
you can't talk that fast.
I just took a pause. When you're born, you come into the world as the physical embodiment of the energy of love.
Yeah.
Every baby is that way, right?
Mhm.
They have no limitations. They give love freely. They receive love freely. You've been around a small newborn, and it's just like, oh, there's so much love.
Yeah.
But then you learn very quickly in your family of origin that love is conditional.
Yep.
And there's this disconnect between the way you want and need to be loved and the way your parents are capable of loving you.
That was the slow down part.
And in the disconnect, right, in that disconnect, there's this wounding that happens because the child takes responsibility for that disconnect. The child says, what is wrong with me that my parent isn't capable of loving me the way I need to be loved?
What's wrong with me that my parent is behaving this way?
Right.
It's really the language of a child, right?
Yeah, so you take on this wounding story, and that wounding story then becomes part of your subconscious program around love. And our subconscious, it's really fascinating, right? It loves this idea of things being familiar. Our subconscious is like looking for more of the same because we have a behavioral homeostasis. Now, I know it's a lot of words. Let me just slow this down. We have physical homeostasis, like your body temperature, your blood pressure, your heart rate. There's a narrow range that we're going to survive. And if we get outside of that narrow range, we will die.
Yep.
Literally, your blood pressure gets too high for too long, too low for too long. Your body temperature, same way. Your heart rate, same way. You're just not going to survive. And so you have a behavioral homeostasis as well. And what that means is your subconscious likes to bring you familiar circumstances over and over and over again because you've survived them to this point. All of this is to say, when you do fast love, your subconscious meets somebody who is a match to that internal GPS, your love imprint, and goes, this is familiar, this is familiar, this is familiar. Sends out that signal to say, pay attention.
All these bells and alarms is like highlighting the person who's familiar to the dynamic you don't want. So Tam said something interesting. She says, it sounds like we're teaching resiliency and patience. And what I want to say, Tam, it's so much more complex.
No, she says the sound thing.
Oh, the sound thing. Oh, I misread it. Yes, it's teaching us resiliency and patience.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, if
the
you
sense
only
of
knew.
Humor.
Yes, that's and a sense of humor. Thank you. I'm going to now laugh at myself that I thought she was saying something about what we were talking about with slow love. I misunderstood. Tam, I'm giving you a kiss. Oh my God, that's hilarious. We teach resiliency and patience, so I don't know that the sound thing needs to be teaching us something. That's hilarious. I just say, when you pay for a service, it should work the way it's supposed to. So it's teaching me to. Okay. Hi, everybody. I just want to say what we're talking about is really complex because if you haven't figured it out on your own by the time you're 30 and you really want to share your life with somebody, not because like, ooh, you need somebody. Like,
Right.
that's not from that place. I mean, when I met Matthew, I didn't need Matthew. I didn't. I had a great career in the film industry. I was really enjoying my life, but I really wanted somebody special to share my life with. And I knew that my family of origin was messed up. And when I started looking for love, I love you. I want a kiss. Thank you. Because I love that he knows how to fix it, because it shouldn't be doing this. Ah. Okay. That sound thing is really frustrating. All right, it's teaching me resiliency and patience.
There you go.
Tam, I'm going to take that in.
Yeah.
That when you really want to share your life with somebody, but you haven't been able to find that right person, it's because that person isn't highlighted for you. I'm making a little blinky, like a blinky light, a blinky light with my hand, right? Because we hear all the time, and I know there are a lot of people that we love and adore and respect that teach about the law of attraction. And we hear all the time from people. We'll hear people saying things like, how come I keep attracting this kind of person, whatever this kind of person is? And what we want to say is you don't have, it's not that you're attracting them and they're like you're putting out a call to them,
right?
And they're all gathered.
You get this magnet that only attracts, narcissists or
cheaters
or mostly unavailable people or whatever.
That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. Instead, your brain is the most powerful computer on earth. We still haven't made a computer better than the space between your ears. Right? So the space between your ears, that big prefrontal cortex, is the best computer on earth. And it is constantly filtering information so that it can guide you to survive. Because that's what your entire being is set to survive. But it's not set to thrive. Because I think when you talk about love, why is it important for us to partner up? Because can you really say any person is really thriving in life unless they've got the love part of their life down? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't say that they're thriving in life. I mean, the longest longitudinal study about what makes a person successful, there's a great book. It's called the Harvard Grant Study. It's the longest longitudinal study. Was it 70 years?
Triumphs of Success, it's called. Yeah, it was 70 years. And they basically came down to, there were like 10 things, but there was one thing that was like most important. He said it was the ability to create and maintain intimate relationships.
That's the number one factor to being successful in life. And so if you really want to thrive in life, because that's where I was like, I'm doing great. My life is good, but I don't have that special person. And so if you really want that special person, but you're stuck in this like hamster wheel of where's the person? I keep meeting this kind of person or that kind of person, or you can't find anyone to date. All of those things are because this thing is filtering, and the people that are highlighted for you by your mind are only the people that are familiar. So imagine you walk into a room of like 100 people you've never met before. We've all had this experience, right? At some point, you walk in that room, you connect with some people. It's like almost like they pop, like they're brighter than everybody else in the room. And the other people in the room, it's not like they're invisible. I mean, you know that they're there,
right?
But they're like the extras in your own personal movie. They're kind of gray and in the background, right? What we want to say is that's not by chance. That's not random. The people that pop for you, the guy or the gal or the woman who walks into the room that you're like, ooh, who's that? That's not random. That's your brain filtering for what is familiar. And so we talk to people all the time that are like, well, I don't understand. And we tell them it's a false positive. We all know what a false negative is because everybody's taking those COVID tests, right?
Exactly.
And we know those at-home COVID tests. It's like, oh, it's negative, but I'm pretty sure I've got it. I had it before. And then a couple days later, bing, your test suddenly is positive, your at-home test. It's like a 40% false negative on those at-home tests. So whatever, I don't know exactly, but that's what we hear. And so you can have a false positive when you're looking for that person that you want that person to light you up, right? So the inner work about how you sort of navigate through this dating process when you have a false positive is another reason, and the most important reason for you to do, say it with me, slow love.
So we're talking about your love imprint and how when you move fast, it triggers that this is familiar, and it gets you in those familiar situations, which are heartbreak, which are struggle, which are hurtful, right?
It comes from your wound. Like, we really want you to understand your love imprint is formed from the meaning that you assigned to the events in your family of origin when you were too little to know about your place in the world or the world around you, or to know how to make choices for yourself. This all happened and cobbled together. It's not like at some point you sat down as a teenager and you're like, well, what's really important to me when it comes to my intimate relationship? And you suddenly cobble it together. That's not how it works. You cobble it together from your experiences. And those experiences were all guided by your love imprint.
And so understanding your love imprint, the language of your specific wound, is going to give you so much information to break this pattern so that you can recognize a love imprint match. And you go, oh no, this isn't what I want. You can avoid those potholes.
This is the awareness piece, so that you don't feel cuckoo, so that you get it. So you're like, oh, wait, I really understand it. So what we wanted to offer everybody tonight is the opportunity to have a love imprint session with us. And that means it's a private session. It's about $200, $197 US. We're not in the US. We work with people all around the globe. It doesn't matter your time zone. We'll get together on our conference line. We'll have a private call, and we will diagnose your love imprint. And we'll talk about what really needs to happen once we've diagnosed it for you. What the solutions for you? Because not everybody's the same. So here's your opportunity. Go to Your Love Imprint, right? www.yourloveimprint.com. We've typed it in the chat box. Yourloveimprint.com. And join us for a love imprint session. It's the beginning of 2023. My goodness.
Yeah.
If you want to create a lasting, loving, soul-satisfying, loving partnership, this is the place to start on your process into a whole new stratosphere. Because once you recognize what that false positive feels like inside of you, you can deselect those people and move on and have new experiences that open you up, so that you can really have this experience that's for you. Sort of like taking that instead of that trigger happy sort of response, right? The trigger happy response of like wanting to dive in and wanting to jump in, and you can recognize it as your love imprint. So you're looking for something else. You're looking for something new. It will still feel great. Like, I want you to really understand it, right? Matthew and I coming together, it was still like awesome, and all those chemicals and all those good feelings and all that stuff was definitely going, but we created this consciously. And that's what we want for you. We want to help you this year in 2023 get the love you want, that soul satisfying, long lasting. So whatever pattern or cycle that you seem to be stuck in, it all starts with your love imprint. All right, let's go to some other questions, eh?
All right. We did that one.
Kate.
We sort of talked about this.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We covered Kate.
Okay, here's a guy, Annie. I've connected with this guy from Match while on an extended trip. We really hit it off and spent a lot of time together. Now that I'm back home, we talk constantly on the phone. He asked me to go on a trip with him, and I'm worried I'm getting too attached to a man who doesn't even live in my city. How do I know he's worth my time and effort? Great question, Annie.
You know, I want to say this. Do you want to take this
No,
one?
you go first. You start.
I want to say this. It's funny because you've already met him in person. Like, this is a very different situation. You get a completely different answer if you've never met in person. Because the time on the phone is okay, but it's not ideal. Like going on a trip with him is definitely, I'm wondering why that puts up your red flag. Like you don't seem to mind investing time on the phone, but now that he's asked you to go on a trip, it's like, ooh, now that seems like a bigger investment. And I want to say, your time is your time. Like we all only have 24 hours in a particular day. And so I'm wondering, what is it about you? What's going on with you where the trip is somehow a bigger investment than a daily investment on the phone? So it's like, I don't want to hear about this person, this guy, and who he is, or whatever. We're more interested in finding out what's really going on with you, Annie, because you are, in a sense, that through line in all of your relationships.
Mhm.
You're the common denominator. You're the person that we would be coaching. And so I just like I don't know, like I have this little antenna that kind of went up. It's like, this is interesting. Like you're talking constantly on the phone, but suddenly now going on a trip feels like a big investment. And now you don't know, because I would be wondering is it worth my time and effort on the phone every day?
So here's the thing.
It's a risk.
It's a risk, right?
Yeah.
And so the question you have to ask yourself, I mean, if you're never going to move from where you live, and it's a deal breaker, you're like, no, my family's here, my job is here, I love my job, I'm not giving up my job, I love where I live.
Yep.
Then you should probably have that conversation with him now, just so that you know,
on the
right?
phone,
On the
and
phone,
find
to
out
say,
if he's open.
find out what his situation is, because you're doing a long distance relationship, and so at some point you probably want to come together in the same place. So if that's a no, then find out from him. If he's willing to move and he's not, then I'd say move on. But once again, there's that story. But wait, he might be my soulmate, and my soulmate lives in a different city, and we don't want to move.
It doesn't work like that.
Right? Exactly. You're not soulmates then. So
yeah, there's no meant to be. I mean, that's the thing. I hate to pop anybody's bubble tonight, but there's no meant to be. There's only what you choose to put your time and energy in. And does it make sense for you? And how does that person treat you when there's a problem? I mean, I think that's the thing. People don't wait and do slow love often enough to find out, because they're already in it. And then there's that what is that, like sunk costs?
You're right.
People have this weird sunk cost.
Well, we've already put so much time into this. Might as well keep going.
Might as well keep going. I mean, oh my gosh, I'd have to get back out there dating again.
It's
weird
at least he's here, right? So that's the thing. I would say this, Annie: keep dating other people and communicate with him that, like, look, you haven't taken your profile down. You're still dating other people. You're still doing this because the two of you are just getting to know each other, and there's no real.
So you
there yet.
Maybe go on that trip with him, but if I wouldn't go on the trip if you're like, I'm never going to move, and he says, well, I'm never going to move, then there's no reason to go on the trip. If you're like, oh, I might move, or he's like, I might move, then go on the trip. I mean, but you have to leave your options open.
And the thing is, the trip is I just got a notification. I bet our sound's bad again. Sound's going crazy again. I knew it.
Okay, so here's the thing. How do you know? You falling in love and partner and being with somebody is a risk. There's no way to mitigate that risk. How do you know if somebody is worth your time? You don't. That's why we're saying go slow. Exactly. Don't invest. Don't put all your eggs in one dude basket or one gal basket. It doesn't work like that. Spread your eggs around. No, make scrambled eggs.
Make scrambled eggs.
I'm just saying, date a lot of people, date a lot of different kind of people. Leave it open. Look for reason to say yes. Engage. Meet people. Go out. Learn. Sit in a cafe for a weekend and greet everybody that comes in. Just meet new people. Every single person you meet knows people you haven't met yet. We'd love to do a Love Imprint session with you. It's the number one thing that makes people have peace of mind about why things have gone south and what they can do differently instantly in one session. Yeah. I mean, that's the piece. So if you want peace of mind and you want to know a new direction to do the dating process differently, go to yourloveimprint.com. We'll do your love imprint and diagnose that. So everybody's different. There's no cookie cutter. Everything we do here is tailored to you. And I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Sorry about the sound issues. We're definitely moving to a new platform, or if Vimeo can't fix this problem, we're going to have to figure it out another way. But we want to thank you for showing up and being patient and resilient with us and sticking with us. I really appreciate it. I know Matthew does too.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to our team. Thank you, team.
Thanks.
And we're going to see you in 2 weeks. We'll be live on Valentine's Day. That's right. If you have nothing to do on Valentine's Day, come join us.
Join us. We'll have a love fest.
We'll have a love fest live at 5. We're going to love on you. We're going to have some fun. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.